I find it really funny when people say Jake Paul isn't a real boxer. Like, what do you mean? He doesn't actually try to hit people with his hands? He absolutely does. Basically what they're saying is he's not somebody who's going to be competitive in the top 10. And let's just be realistic. That's okay. Does he need to make it into the top 10? Is he trying to make millions of dollars? No. So I think this idea that somebody has to be like the top 10 elite to be a real boxer is very critical. I don't want to look at somebody on this channel and being like, oh, you've only had 4 fights. You're not a real fighter. You absolutely are. Am I going to go out and say all these guys are the best in the world just because you did a fight or two? You're the best in the world? No, absolutely not. You have to climb the ranks. And has Jake Paul been climbing the ranks in the way he needs to become a legit world champion, to, you know, capture a WBC title or a ring title? No, maybe not. Taking on former MMA fighters is maybe not the way to get to that top tier where people are going to recognize you. But again, does he need to do that? Right? He didn't start boxing at a super young age, and he's somebody who's super wealthy. Like, let's be real. How many people who, let's say, even win the lottery, you go win 50 million. How many people are going to actually put themselves out there so much in such an extreme way? Because we have to remember, fighting is extreme. Right? You've got to train hard. You have eyes on you. If you lose, you get beat up. Your ego takes a hit. Your physical body takes a hit. Like, it is mean. So for him to get in there when he already has this enormous amount of wealth and just be like, yeah, I'm going to do some fights. And then all of a sudden he's fighting former UFC champions. Like, I say good job. So last night he fought Mike Perry. Is it a real fight or not a real fight? Really, who cares? Is Mike Perry the best boxer in the world? Is he somebody who represents the highest level of UFC? No. But I still want to go through some of the clips from the fight and talk about what I see. Because as always, it's just fun showing you guys clips and giving my opinion. So let's start off and let's just look initially at the size of each of these guys. We have Jake Paul, 27 years old, Mike Perry, 32. So at that age, it can't really be said that either of these guys are outside of their prime. You're not going to go, oh, Mike Perry's 32, he's outside of his prime. You could argue that he's taken a lot of punishment, and because of that, he's not really in his prime anymore, I suppose. But to me, both of these guys are in great ages to be competitive. Jake Paul has a 3-inch height advantage and only comes in 4 pounds over Mike Perry, but probably rehydrated quite a bit. Whereas Mike Perry, I bet you that is his max walk around weight. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jake Paul went up to like 220, maybe even a little bit more, and Mike Perry was in there at 196, but that's like a big Mike Perry. Maybe not necessarily helping him. Maybe him walking at 186, he would have even been better in the ring, although lacking a little bit of size, and the reach is obviously in the favor of Jake Paul. And I remember seeing that in the fight, being like, yeah, if Jake Paul throws a jab and Mike Perry throws a jab, only one of them is eating it. So let's get into the fight here and let's see what's going down. I mean, right from the get-go here, jabs, body, and then another jab. What happens there? And the big thing that I would go, oh, okay, my concern with the defense of Mike Perry is when he takes the body shot, you know, he gets hit, and then he goes to block the body shot, and both hands drop, and then his head's open, and he takes another one. And to me, this shows you that you haven't had as much experience as people might think in actually just hands. Yes, he's fantastic at bare knuckle boxing, but it's so different. Not having gloves on is so different. And now you see he still gets his head snapped back. He's still overreaching to be defensive, but again, he's fighting a bigger dude. So are we really going to discredit him that much? No, I don't think so. All right, next one here. The movement around, little jabs, and just a big overhand that comes over the top. Again, Mike Perry's defense, not perfect. He has his arm extended. As he's taking those jabs, he gets caught over the top, but it shows the power which Jake Paul has. Was that the best punch in the world? No. It wasn't the crispest, the fastest, not the best technique, but he still hits Mike Perry, a dude who can take so much punishment in bare knuckle boxing, and he flattens him down for a second. So Jake Paul He's not the fastest, like I said. He definitely doesn't have the best technique, but he does have power. From here, again, that jab, and it's just a repeat of the last time where we were looking at the jab and the body shot and the jab. Now it's jab, upper jab, and eating the first shot, the second one coming really darn close, and then not being ready for the third. So just with the boxing gloves and with only hands, Mike Perry's defense is a little sketchy. It's not as good as I would like to see. Again, I don't want to criticize him and be like, oh, he's not a real boxer because of that. He's in there and he's fighting. And I have respect for anybody who gets in the ring to fight, because I know how hard it is to get in there and be ready. Like, there's a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work that goes, but there's a lot of fear which you have to overcome. Maybe he doesn't have fear the way the rest of us do because he's an interesting dude. But still, respect for him. Moving on here, body jab again. Those are high level things in my opinion, throwing the body jabs, and then he comes up to the head. So that is something that you might see Mayweather do. Is he executing to Mayweather level? No, but he's getting that mindset there where he's going down to the body, and then he's changing levels. So he's starting to get that fight mentality and understand these little boxing tricks, which are used by the best fighters in the world. And a left hook, which kind of wobbles and followed with the jab. He gets wobbled. Jake Paul on the attack, kind of rushing it a little bit, I would say. Like when he actually had him hurt, that's the first time where I saw, okay, the technique's still there, but he's jamming the distance and forcing a little bit. And in my experience, I would say that comes while you're still somewhat of a novice in the ring. Is his skill level novice? No, but his time in the ring and the excitement that you get when you see somebody hurt, maybe it's not developed as much. Whereas you see some people and they'll crack somebody, they'll either jump on them really fast or they'll just take a second. Just maintain that distance so they can land a real shot that will really put you out. Somebody like Anthony Joshua is great at that. You see this 6'6", muscle-bound dude and he cracks somebody and you're like, get him! But he takes his time. But then when he does land the next one, it finishes fights. Big left hook, uppercut, Mike Perry, guard up. He's doing some good slipping there. One of the things that we have to give him credit for, and everybody knows this, is he's tough. Those shots were hard, and he is still there. Counters there, a little wobbled. Big attack again, maybe a little wild, jamming it a little bit, but gets the knockdown, and Mike Perry, at the end of it, cannot make the final count. The referee asks him to go to the side, and he starts moving and then loses control and kind of stumbles. Good call from the ref there to keep Mike Perry safe. So once again, when you watch that fight, I think most people went Jake Paul was the favorite going in, just because of a number of things. Like, he has the strict boxing experience, he has the size advantage, and Mike Perry, you know, he's a tough fighter, but he's been doing bare knuckle, which is different. So coming to this, Jake Paul was the favorite. He showed why, but you know, I'm hesitant to say, okay, now he's a real boxer, because he was always a real boxer. He's always trying. But does beating Mike Perry, Anderson Silva, Nate Diaz, does that make him somebody who I would go, oh, you can start putting him against anybody, even in the top 20? Of his weight class against real boxers who've been training their whole lives? No, absolutely not. He would not beat them. He would not have a chance. They talk about putting him against Canelo Alvarez, even though there's a massive size disparity. No, against Canelo Alvarez, he's going to get picked apart. He's not going to land a thing. Well, not maybe a thing, but he would land some stuff, but he's not going to land anything which is going to help him win the fight, get those knockdowns. So I'm still impressed by this guy. 27 years old, worth probably hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe not that much, but somewhere in there, and still getting in the ring and trying and winning fights against legit former legends, maybe of different sports, but still, I'm impressed.